The year 2000 witnessed the publication of Judith Butler's essay, Antigone's Claim Kinship Between Life and Death, a text that intricately weaves together themes of kinship, mourning, and political agency. Butler, a prominent figure in contemporary feminist theory, queer theory, and political philosophy, here visits Sophocles' Antigone, engaging with the play to explore the profound connections between the living and the dead, and the ethical implications that arise from these relationships. To understand Butler's work, it is essential to situate it within the intellectual currents that shaped her thinking, the specific claims she advanced, the lasting impact of her analysis. The intellectual genesis of Antigone's claim lies in a convergence of philosophical influences. Butler's work is deeply indebted to post-structuralist thought, particularly the deconstruction of Jacques Derrida, whose analysis of mourning and the spectral returns of the dead significantly informed Butler's reading of Antigone. Derrida's work, particularly Spectres of Marx, provides the theoretical framework for understanding how the presence of the dead persistently influences the present, shaping political and ethical considerations. Michel Foucault's theories of power and discourse are equally crucial. Butler utilizes Foucault's concepts of power relations to examine the ways in which state power constructs and regulates life and death, and the ethical demands arising from the differential distribution of these rights. Further, Butler draws heavily from psychoanalytic theory, especially the notions of identification and melancholia, to analyze the complex emotional and political processes involved in mourning and the construction of kinship. These interwoven influences create a dense intellectual tapestry that Butler weaves in her analysis of Antigone. Butler's specific argument focuses on the ways Antigone's actions challenge the state's power to define and control life and death. The central claim of the essay revolves around Antigone's performance of mourning for her brother, Polynices, a performance that resists the decree of Creon. The king, Creon, representing the power of the state, seeks to control not just the living but also the dead, dictating who receives proper burial rights. Antigone's act of burying Polynices disrupts this control, asserting a kinship that surpasses legal and political decrees. Butler argues that Antigone's claim is both a demand and a challenge. It is a demand for recognition of the kinship bond, a bond that persists even in death. It is a challenge to the state's authority to dictate the terms of belonging and exclusion. Within the essay, several key concepts help elucidate Butler's argument. First, the concept of precarity is essential. Precarity, for Butler, describes the vulnerability to violence and the contingent conditions under which life is sustained. Antigone's relationship to the dead, and her insistence on performing the rituals of burial, underscores the precarity of life. The act of mourning acknowledges the fragility of existence and affirms the value of the life that has been lost. Second, Butler emphasizes the notion of ethical responsibility. For Butler, ethics arises from our relationships with others, particularly those who are vulnerable or marginalized. Antigone's unwavering commitment to her brother reflects an ethical responsibility that transcends political boundaries. Third, the essay explores the concept of kinship. Butler challenges the conventional understanding of kinship, suggesting that it extends beyond biological ties to include affective and political bonds. Antigone's actions reveal a kinship formed through shared suffering, mourning, and a refusal of state-sanctioned violence. Butler highlights the interplay of these concepts throughout the essay's analysis. The immediate impact of Butler's analysis of Antigone lies in its significant contributions to critical theory, feminist philosophy, and discussions of political agency. The essay offered a novel perspective on the play, transforming it from a tragedy of individual conflict into a deeply political text exploring the relationship between the state, the individual, and the ethical demands of kinship. It prompted fresh readings of Sophocles' play, moving beyond traditional interpretations that often centered on Antigone's moral virtue, to emphasize her role as a figure of resistance to state power and a champion of the rights of the dead. The essay spurred critical engagement with the concept of mourning, redefining it as a political act. This was particularly relevant within discussions surrounding AIDS and more broadly the losses felt as the result of the AIDS epidemic. The essay provides a framework for understanding how mourning can become a site of political struggle against indifference and exclusion. The subsequent use and evolution of Butler's ideas have been extensive. The concepts Butler developed in Antigone's claim, particularly precarity, ethical responsibility, and the political dimensions of kinship, have found application across various fields. In the field of human rights, for example, her work has informed discussions about the rights of the marginalized, including refugees, immigrants, and LGBTQ individuals. Scholars have borrowed Butler's lens to explore the ways in which political discourse constructs the value of certain lives over others. Her analysis of precariousness has been especially influential in understanding the impact of neoliberal policies and the ways these policies create vulnerable populations. Beyond academia, Antigone's claim has influenced activist circles, providing theoretical grounding for struggles for recognition, visibility, and political agency. The essay also continues to inspire artistic and literary works that revisit the themes of loss, mourning, and resistance. Despite its enduring influence, Antigone's claim has faced some critiques. Some critics question the degree to which Butler's reading of Antigone emphasizes political resistance over individual moral conviction. Others challenge the ambiguity of the term kinship, arguing that it may undermine the particularity of specific familial, social, and political relations. Furthermore, some scholars have pointed to the potential for Butler's emphasis on ethical responsibility to overlook the complexities of political action, specifically the difficulties and compromises inherent in political struggles. Nevertheless, critics acknowledge the text's rich argumentation and theoretical contributions. Revisions of Butler's themes within her later work and that of others have focused on clarifying these points, and have sought to develop more nuanced frameworks for understanding the intersection of ethics, politics, and kinship. Several individuals and prior works directly influenced the conceptualization of Antigone's claim. As mentioned earlier, the works of Derrida, Foucault, and various psychoanalytic writers played pivotal roles. The writings of feminist thinkers such as Luce Irigaray and Monique Wittig also influenced Butler's analysis of gender and power, informing her critique of patriarchal structures. The direct influence is evident throughout the essay. Derrida's theory of the spectral informs Butler's analysis of the persistent presence of the dead and their influence on the living. Foucault's work on power relations allows Butler to understand Creon's actions as an exercise of state control. Psychoanalytic theory furnishes Butler with the vocabulary to discuss melancholia, identification, and mourning. The influence of these thinkers is manifest through the use of their specific terminology, theoretical concepts, and argumentative strategies. In turn, Butler's work has directly influenced numerous subsequent works and scholars. The essay spurred a surge of critical engagement with Sophocles' Antigone within academic circles. Scholars working in feminist theory, queer theory, and post-structuralist thought frequently cite Antigone's claim. It informed a new generation of scholars working on issues of precarity, human rights, and the political dimensions of grief. Butler's approach provided a framework for analysing the ways in which marginalised groups experience violence and navigate systems of power. Antigone's claim also helped shape the study of the social and political dimensions of death and dying, inspiring scholars to explore these themes across a range of disciplines. The impact of Butler's work extends beyond academia, influencing activist discourses and political struggles. In conclusion, Antigone's claim kinship between life and death stands as a landmark work within contemporary critical theory. It provides an incisive reading of Sophocles' Antigone, revealing the political dimensions of mourning, kinship, and the struggle for recognition and human dignity. By weaving together post-structuralist, psychoanalytic, and feminist perspectives, Butler offers a profound exploration of the interplay between life, death, and the ethical and political demands that arise from these connections. The essay's impact is evident in its influence on subsequent scholarship, its relevance to human rights discussions, and its inspiration for activism and artistic expression. Antigone's claim affirms itself as a key text for understanding the enduring power of literature and the ongoing relevance of ancient tragedy for contemporary ethical and political struggles.